That's a good question. Wit Prophet. Glad you asked. Hi, Matt. All will be revealed. That's the idea of tonight, okay? Well, hello everybody. Welcome along to Love Audio's YouTube channel. My name is Paul Webber. Great to be here today. And it's great to have you along as well. This evening, this morning, this afternoon, whatever time of day it is, wherever in the world you're watching from, please do let me know in the comments, especially if you're new here. If you are new, please type new in the comments. We'd love to see and hear from you. And also, if you've been around for a while, make sure you make the newcomers feel very welcome by welcoming them into the stream. Okay, so what is Love Audio all about? Well, Love Audio is hopefully a safe, fun, friendly, and hopefully, as I say, entertaining platform for you to learn the basics in audio production. So if you guys are on board with that, give us a big thumbs up, give us a good like on the video, and we'll get cracking. Okay, so let's say hi to a few people first of all. Hello to Matt. Matt's in the house from All Things YouTube. Please do say hello to him. Matt Huss delivers great content and great knowledge about anything to do with YouTube. So head on over to All Things YouTube on YouTube itself. Not just yet, but maybe after the stream, and you'll find out more from Matt's channel. Hello also to Shalalala Productions. That's Robert. There he is. So that's up there for a reason, by the way. It's midstream for a reason. I'm not going to move it, but I'll tell you more about that in a moment or two when we Whit says thumbs up. Thank you very much. Let's have a look here. What else is there? We've got that. That's fine. Yeah. So do let us know what you're up to this evening, and we're going to be talking about the Fat channel on the Presonus Studiolive 32SC digital console. Now, people are always asking, what is the Fat channel? Well, I have no clue, but it's a name. It's a name that they give to a certain section of the mixing console with regards to their production equipment that they supply. It's called the Fat channel, and if you select a certain channel, then it controls a lot of the things that you do on that particular channel, and I'll go through that in detail in a very short while. Hello to Sandy, Awakenings Within. Hello to you. Hang on a second, let me just bring that up onto the screen. What a great pleasure to have you here, and yes, that is there for a reason, by the way. It's midstream because I don't want it to interfere with my picture a little bit later on. I didn't want to move it twice, so so if you're wondering what's that doing stuck up in the air, then that's why. Okay. Robert's saying hello to Matt. Robert's from Shalalala Productions, of course, and was great to be on his program, the Verbose Perspectives show with James Hicks the other day. That was really, really good. So thanks for having me on board with that one. It was quite an interesting discussion. Robert's saying hello to Sandy, Awakenings Within. Brilliant stuff. You see, it's a friendly bunch. It's a friendly bunch. It is. no getting away from it. And it's really good to see you on the stream today. So if you have any audio questions between now and the end of the stream, please do drop them in the comments. I'll do my very best to answer them as we go along. But what I wanted to do today was to talk about the fat channel on the digital mixing console that I have here. Excuse my script. Let's move that out of the way. You don't want to see that, do you? Okay, so what we have here is, this is an overhead cam, by the way, just pointing at the mixing desk itself. You don't always see this shot, so I wanted to bring this in and show you what I use as my audio interface. Now, you can get audio interfaces that are a lot smaller than this, absolutely a lot smaller than this, and you know, you don't need a 32-channel digital mixing desk like I've got here. I just happen to be using this because I do audio production, both here in the studio, obviously for the voiceover work that I do, but also for future-proofing myself. I'm going to be doing some training on, you know, miking up equipment for you know, bands, things like that. So, you know, outside events where they've got multiple inputs and outputs and things like that. This is a 32-channel digital mixing console, and in fact 32 mono channels, but if you double that up, you've got 32 channels of digital audio as well, so that's 64 channels of audio. And that would just absolutely blow my mind if somebody said to me, right, we've got a project here, we've got 24 digital channels, you know, so 24 digital channels, you know, 32 ordinary channels, that kind of thing, analog channels, if you will, and we'd like you to mix the whole thing, and I'd probably go in the corner somewhere and cry. But it's going to be a bit of a challenge, and it's fine. But I'm just gradually kind of getting my way around the audio console as such, and I wanted to show you tonight what this fat channel means. Now, I'm going to be showing you both this, and also if I go to my desktop a second, you'll see a piece of software called Control. Okay, this is something. This is the proprietary software that Presonus use. So if I go like that, you'll see that here. So if I move a fader on the desk, not only does it bring my volume down, as you can probably hear, because it's that particular channel that I'm moving, all right? But it also moves the software as well, okay? So I'm moving the fader on the mixing console itself, and if I go back to that picture, you'll see that I'm doing that. That's annoying because it's like bringing my volume up and down. I get that, so I fully appreciate that that's going to be annoying for a while. But I'll leave it just at what we call unity. Unity is the U that's in the middle there. Sometimes it's got like a 0 on it, but in this particular instance, it's U for unity. And that's roughly where you want it. So some people will drive it that far up, and as you can see, that's also creating an audio feedback for me, which I don't want. But it's also it would be distorting if I didn't have a limiter on the software itself. So I'm going to bring that down to unity once more, and leave it there. So not driving it right to the top of the channel where it can't go any further, but I bring it down to about there. Okay, and that's a good tip to have. Don't always push your mixers as far as you can possibly push them. Okay, it's not good for your overall sound, and B, you've got no headroom to be able to control that with unless you use your gain control at the top, and we'll talk more about that as we go along, okay? So that's tip number one. Don't overdrive your faders. Keep them at unity, and you should have either a U for unity or a 0, and that's where the 0 dB point is. Anything plus that is plus dB, anything minus that is minus dB, okay? But U is unity, and we keep that in that line there. Perfect. All right. Tallboy's on from the States. Hello, Tallboy. Hi, Paul. We are talking mixers today. Yes, we certainly are. And thank you so much for joining the stream. Much appreciated. I do hope you enjoyed today's show. So what we've got on this particular channel, and I'm bringing everything through to you guys through mix 7 and 8, okay? So anything that comes into this particular section of the mixer is on mix 7 and mix 8. That's an auxiliary channel. And if we go first of all to our Aux Sends, I'm pressing the Aux Sends button on this is called the fat channel section just here. And I don't know why they call it that. FAT doesn't stand for anything particular, just says fat channel control, selected channel. So we've selected our channel, which is channel 5, which is the desk microphone that I'm using right here. And so we press that, and then we press Aux Sends, And what that does is it brings up that window at the top there on a touch screen. Now, if I move that fader, okay, you can see that moving in the touch screen. But also, again, it's reducing my volume of the microphone. I get that. And also, if you go across to the software as well, you can see that it's changing that at the same time, okay? So Aux Sends is anything you're sending to the auxiliary channel. And the auxiliary channel we're sending to is Aux 7 and 8. And you'll see that just at the top there. I appreciate that it's not quite zoomed into that, but I wanted you to see the overall mixer instead of just a tiny little window at the top there. If I had 3 or 4 cameras, then yeah, trust me, I'll be zooming in on that right now. But, you know, we'll stick with what we've got, all right? I don't want to overcomplicate it right now. Okay, so we've got that. Now, let's move across to some other things that we've got on here. So we go to inputs, and that's absolutely fine. And what you'll see is the desk mic inputs will be brought up there on the screen. Now, if I talk you through what's top to bottom, if you will. So the top right icon, and if I tilt that up very slightly, you'll just about see the little cog at the top there. Okay, that's that one there with a number beside it. That gives you the number of the channel. And let me just move that up slightly, and then I don't have to keep moving it around for you. There we go. So you've got the icon, and it's a 3-pronged icon. So that indicates that we've got an XLR cable plugged into the back of the mixer there. So that really, really works, okay? So that's fine. And then next to that, you've got a cog wheel. Now, if you touch that, then obviously that brings up various parameters that you can change. You can change the name. You can change the color of the LED that lights up down here. You can also change whether it's pre or post fader. You can change the preamp level trim. You can change fader levels, panning, compressor, limiter, all that kind of stuff, okay? So I'll take that off for now and back to that main screen. Now, the next section down on this particular touch screen is relevant because it says 48 volts, okay? Now that is feeding the microphone 48 volts of what we call phantom power. And that's coming directly from the mixing desk into the microphone in order to make it work. Now, it's a condenser mic, so it needs that 48 volts phantom power supply in order to work. All right. The one across from that is a phaser. Is a phase like a comparison thing. So if you were having 2 microphones set up together, but they were picking up the same kind of frequencies, chances are you'd get phasing. And the way to test that phasing is to click on that button there, and you can hear automatically there's a difference, okay? There's a difference in the sound quality. And what that does is it reverses the polarity of the phasing, okay? So if I take that off, that's exactly where it should be right now. So now you're just hearing my natural voice. But if I put it back on again, you'll hear that phasing thing coming in again. What it's doing is it's listening to the same signal, but it's doubling up on it. And that's not really what you want, particularly in recording. Okay, you'd record the same thing and have it on a duplicate track, perhaps, if you were recording that, but you wouldn't want the same thing again. And again, on this fat channel here, there's also a phasing button, so I could check that again by just pressing the button there and pressing it off, pressing it on, pressing it off. Now, in order to appreciate how this is working, you're probably going to need headphones or a decent set of speakers on your setup if you're watching this on the playback, okay? Because otherwise you won't hear that difference. It's very subtle, but it's worth checking the phasing. Let's say, for instance, you had 2 singers and they were on stage and you had microphone left, microphone right. You didn't have them panned in any way. They were just right up the center. You'd press that phase button to see which of the microphones was causing that issue. And if it was, then you could probably pan one left and right to give you a bit more space and to make sure that they weren't in line with each other and causing that phasing issue. Do hope that helps. And it's a bit geeky and it's a bit kind of technical, but you know, if you can bear with me, then that'll be really good. Hello to Mario. Mario's in the house from the Cutting Edge TV. It says, hey, Paul, hey, guys. Thank you very much indeed for joining today, Mario. I just caught the tail end of your earlier sermon, so I'm going to go back and watch that as the replay. So, yeah, I was. Let me tell you a quick story. Let's go back to here a second. I freelance for Amazon in the afternoons, do deliveries for them and everything else. And I went down to do a shift at Plymouth, which is 35 miles from here, roughly. And it's the town that I'm hoping to move to, of course, very soon. And yeah, so my pickup time was 1:45 p.m. and I was due to finish at 4:15. got there at 1:45, nice and early, checked in. My deliveries were going to be 2.5 hours, and one of the bosses come over to me and said, "We don't have any 2.5 hours shifts available." Uh-oh. That's never happened to me before. And so what happens in that circumstance is that there's a button on the app that they supply you with that you click, and it not only relinquishes you from any duties that day, but it also indicates that you turned up, so you showed up, right? That's part of the main thing, is to show up, right, and show up on time. And so you drive home again, and they still pay you for that shift, and you don't have to deliver any parcels. I said, well, look, I said, I don't mind you giving me a 3-hour one. She said, I can't do that because the 3-hour ones are allocated to other people that are coming in behind you. Fair enough. So yeah. Long story short, went down there. Okay, so, I lost some fuel going there and back, of course, but still got paid for the shift. So happy days. Anyway, back to the task in hand. Okay, so we've explained the phasing thing, which I've just pressed on and pressed off. If I press the 48-volt phantom power supply, that will stop my microphone. So if I do that, now bringing that back on. Now you heard that pop, that loudness. The mixing desk itself, the console, has a protection circuit built in. So when you press it on, it's not going to damage the microphone in any way. It kind of, I don't know, it just kind of limits that boom, if you will, when it first launches. So you're not damaging your microphone by pressing that 48-volt phantom power supply. But what I do recommend is that you bring your fader right down and then press 48 volts if you're going to bring that kind of microphone into your own audio interface, okay? Just bear that in mind. So bring your fader down before you press the 48-volt phantom power supply button, before you fade it back up, and then do some testing with the audio and the levels and stuff. Okay, so let's move on then. We're going to go through the kind of left and right things in a moment or two. What I want to do first is show you the gate. So the gate is here, okay? Just press the gate button, and you'll notice that it comes up on the main screen there. This is my gate. Now, I've got an on-off button here, and I want to demonstrate how it's working. So my gate is set so that it lets my audio through, but it doesn't let any background noise through, and it doesn't let the noise of the gigabit Ethernet port that I've got underneath here. It's got 2 fans in it, which are quite loud. And I'll demonstrate that for you in a moment or two. So my gate is set so that my voice is clear. You can hear it nice and clearly, hopefully, fingers crossed. But it doesn't let any background noise through. So that's what a gate does. And you can change the various parameters, and we'll do that in a second or two. But first of all, I wanted to show you the on-off comparison, so that you get an idea of what the gate's doing. So currently the gate, when I stop talking, doesn't let anything else through. But if I take the gate off, can you hear that noise now? Again, with headphones on, you'll probably be able to hear this better, or with a decent set of speakers if you're watching this on the replay, then that's the better way to kind of get an idea. So if I didn't have a gate on at all, that's the noise you'd hear in the background all the time. It's like having air conditioning on all the time in the background. It's not good. So I recommend that either in your software or in your hardware, if it possesses it, get yourself a gate and just bring it down to just enough level so that it cuts off any of that background noise for you. So I'll put that back on. And instantly, it takes away all of that background kind of rubbish that you don't want in your stream or in your live productions or recorded video or anything like that, okay? So that's the gate. Moving along then on this particular, what we call the fat channel, this is this section here, we're going to move across to the compressor. So press the compressor, and again, it changes in the window there. If I take it off, it's currently on, by the way, but if I take it off, then the noise, the sound levels change. Because I've got some compression on my voice, what you're hearing now is just my natural voice with the microphone and no other settings apart from some EQ. EQ stands for equalization, okay? So when I push that back on, you should be able to hear that dynamic range changes, and it brings it more to life, brings it more punchy, and so that you guys can hear it better. So hopefully that explains that particular section there. Just checking the comments to see if there's anything else come up. Excuse me. Like I say, if you've got any questions as we move through these things, please do let me know, because I know it's quite complicated and it can get quite complex at times. But, you know, the idea was to show you this particular section of the mixing desk and you get a better feel for how things work. And it's great to have these things at hand, like at arm's reach, if you will, so that you're not ferrying around inside software. Like, for instance, if we were to do this and have this kind of thing, I'd have to move the mouse, I'd have to find the button. Oh, see, as I've just muted myself. Did you see that? What happened there? Oh, you see, this is interesting, isn't it? Because I've just muted solo. I've just soloed channel 13, which actually mutes everything else, which is really bizarre. But it only mutes it in my headphones. It doesn't mute it for you, because you can still hear me speaking. So that's really, really strange. But if I were to so I can unmute that from either the software in there, or I can mute it on the desk here like this. So if I press this button here, and then I unmute myself and you can hear me again. So, and again, that's really useful to have as you know, right on your fingertips, as it were. So going back to the compressor then, in that case, if my compressor is off, that's really just giving you the kind of basics now. It's unprocessed audio, apart from, as I say, a little bit of EQ. Tallboy says, how many channels do you have on that mixer? Let me put the compressor back on. This is a 32 channel digital mixing system, and it gives you double that, because you've also got from the DAW, the digital audio workstation, another 32 channels of digital audio coming back to you. Okay, if I was to press the DAW button on here, these faders would snap to position and I'd have another 32 channels coming back in. I don't have the DAW excuse me, set up on my screen currently today. I just wanted to demonstrate the basics. But yeah, so this will, in effect, give you 64 channels of digital audio if you needed it. Now, that's way, way overkill. I can barely cope with 32, okay? And you don't see 32 on this mixer. You see, let's have a look here. So if I take that off, you've got 1 to 16, okay? But then I've got another layer here. So that's 1 to 16. Go across there, you've got 17 to 32, okay? If I press it again, you've got the FX returns 1 through 4, and then you've got auxiliary channels A and B, and you've got the tape input and talkback. Okay, so this mixer is just so versatile. It's an unbelievable range of inputs and outputs that you can route internally if you're from America, using the touch screen and using the different parameters here on the mixing desk itself, or you can do it in the software which comes with it. So this is universal control, and this will control everything on the mixing desk as well. So I hope that helps, Tallboy. Thank you. Does this mixer have sound effects as well? I'm glad you said that. I'm going to bring that on to our next little section here. So we go back to the mixing desk itself, and once that clears out of the way, I'll show you 4 buttons that bring up the effects. Okay. Okay. So what we have is 4 effects channels built in. Okay. Now, if I unmute FXA 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you can automatically hear that that's quite a large room reverb that I've got on that particular channel. Okay? So, let me just... Can you bring guest phone calls into that mixer? That's a very good question. Let me just answer one thing at a time. We'll talk about the effects first of all, if we may. So I'm going to mute that again because that's really annoying. And once that's cleared out of the way, let me show you FXB, which is this one. So this is kind of a springy, kind of boing, boing, boing kind of sound effect, if you can hear that. And then mute that. And then you've got this one, which is a very, very small room, almost like a bathroom, if you will. So it sounds like I'm in the bath, singing away, scrubbing my back, scrubbing my arms, washing my face, all that kind of stuff. So that's fine. And then finally you've got this doubling effect. So this is a delay. It's a stereo delay. So when I speak, it's coming in mono. But then you've got this left and right flip-flop delay going on. We call it a ping-pong delay. So it's ping-pong, like that, left to right. So if I combine that with some reverb, and I'm singing away, it gives a great effect because you've got that kind of doubling effect behind the singing and behind the main vocal. So anyway, that's the effects dealt with, hopefully. And by the way, you can change parameters on the effects by going to the fat channel again. So I could press the effects button on here and then change some of these parameters using these buttons here or this one here. Okay, and they pretty much match each other, and that you can do all sorts of things with them, which is brilliant. Let me move on to some more of your questions here. Can you bring guest phone calls into that mixer? I guess you could. I've never tried it. I would need to have a separate computer. And then, excuse me, what I would do is I've got a separate sound card here, a USB sound card, which I would plug into a laptop and then take the feed from there, which is just a mini jack, which is a 1/8 of an inch jack, or 1/4 inch. No, it's not a 1/4 inch jack. It's a 1/8 inch jack, like that. And that comes out of the headphone socket on this very, very tiny, but really, really good sound blaster. It's not going to focus, is it, unless I get out of the way? Hang on. It's a bit dark as well. You can't really see it because it's black. And the writing's on there. How's that? It's upside down, you fool. Oh, no wonder I'm trying to show it to this camera. There we go. So it's a really tiny sound blaster sound card, but it's so good. It's so good quality. And it's got a microphone socket in there as well. So you've got a stereo out and a mono in. So you could put a microphone through there as well. I'm not doing this very well, am I? Because the camera's above me. There we go. Like that. Okay. But yeah, so I could bring in some callers from a separate computer if I wanted to. But I've never tried bringing them into the desk via anything else other than my software that I use. I hope that helps. Tallboy says that's dope. 64 channels. 2 layers, that's a first. It's actually not, Tallboy. It's just because the footprint of the mixer is smaller than it could be. The one up from this, the 34SC, is a full 32 channel with 32 faders on it. Okay, and you've got like, I think it's got like 16 one side, and then I can't remember the amount the other side. But anyway, so you've got a 32 channel. Literally with 32 faders on it. Basically, that's what I'm trying to say. But this is a compact version of it, and so you've got those layers that you can go through. So that was layer 1. Layer 2 gives you the other 16 channels, and then you've got your effects channels as well on top of that. Okay. So yeah, I hope that helps. Do you feel more comfortable using the software or the actual unit? More and more so, I'm getting used to the actual unit because it's a lot more hands-on. And I don't have to go ferreting around with a mouse looking for, bits and pieces on the software itself to adjust. So, for instance, if I was adjusting the gate on my channel, for instance, if I go to this one, where are we? There we go. So if I go to that and I turn the gate off, I can do that. I can, you can hear that difference now. I've just turned the gate off using my mouse and clicking on the software. If I go to desktop, you'll see that a lot clearer. So just here where my mouse is moving around, that's the gate input there. Okay. So I've put it on. All right. Now, if I mess around with the threshold, you'll get to hear where that gate kicks in. Okay. Have a listen to this. So just there, at negative 70 dB is where the noise starts to come in. Okay? So bring that up to where it was before, and that cuts out any background noise that I've got. Take the gate off, and you'll hear that noise coming through again. So yeah, I can change it if I want to with the software. However, much easier to press a button. Hang on. That's why. There we go. There we go. Can you hear that difference? Pressing the button now on the desk. And there it is. Gate kicks in again. Okay? I'm going to bring that threshold up a little bit because it's not quite where I want it. That's better. So the attack is 5 milliseconds. Release is 700 milliseconds, so I don't want it to release too quickly. And then range and key filter I've got off. I don't need that any at all. So key source means that it's listening for a certain key. If you were doing music and you just wanted it to eliminate... let me go back to this one again. Yeah, so if you were doing music and you wanted it to listen for a certain key, then you put the key source on and find out where that was coming from. So you can choose from any of these channels to listen for that particular key. But I happen to have it on none because I don't want it to listen to any key. And then just, you know, the gate would then kick in when it heard that specific channel and that specific note or whatever it might be. Okay, that's quite a technical way of looking at it, but it's one of those things that you can do. So let's go back to our picture of the overhead and the mixing console again. So do that. All right, so where are we now? Let's make sure we've caught up with some messages here. Just asking questions. Feel free to respond accordingly. No problem at all, Tallboy. I really appreciate your really appreciate your questions. So thank you very much indeed for getting involved with those. And I hope it's useful for everybody else that's watching. So how much does that sound card retail for? The little one that I showed you, I think it was about 35 UK pounds. But you know what? It's very tiny. It would work with a laptop. But I don't recommend for much more than other than just plugging a microphone into it and having some headphones come out of it. It's USB, and it's only USB 2. It's not USB 3 or C, whatever you call it. Okay, so it's better than your built-in sound card on a laptop, for instance. Okay, but I don't recommend it if you want multiple inputs because it's just got one input, one output. Simple as that. All right, just bear that in mind. It's by Sound Blaster, and I can't remember the model number. I have the box somewhere because I'm going to get it packed up before moving, but I don't have the box to hand. I'm sorry. The Cutting Edge TV Mario says pretty cool mixer. Reminds me of an Allen and Heath QU I used at my old church. Yeah. Allen and Heath, a very good brand of mixer. This one I happen to be using is by Presonus. It's the Studiolive 32SC digital console, but Allen and Heath, very good brand of mixer. Thank you, Mario. Sorry, getting a bit dry there. Okay, what else do we have here? How much does the mixer retail for, and is it USB compatible? It is a USB mixing console, and it retails for 1,700 UK pounds. So it's about $19.99 US dollars, thereabouts. Okay, we can find that out exactly by just going to my browser a second, and we'll look it up. So give me 2 seconds while I do that. Excuse me. Presonus Studiolive 32SC. I'll go there. So Gear for Music is where I bought it from, and this is a UK brand, and it retails currently for 17. There we go, 1749. There's one in stock. You'll be glad to know, and you can get it by the 11th of April. If you got the money. 1749 UK pounds, and that includes tax, or UK tax anyway. What it is in US dollars, I couldn't tell you. If I change that to USA, just over $2,000, so $2,107, and that's excluding tax. Okay, estimated delivery. And you can see, we're just having a good look around it here. Look, so if I hover over the mixer itself, that's the fat channel there on the left-hand side. That's the touch screen. You've got master control and effects master underneath that. You've got a solo bus, and then you've got all of these channels. And these down the side here, and we'll go through those in a second or two, are the auxiliary channels that you can choose. Okay? So I hope that's helpful for you. So yeah. it is USB compatible because it is a USB digital mixer. It's got Ethernet at the back of it, and the Ethernet controls... 2 seconds, let me just get rid of this. And this, we'll go back to universal control. So, if I didn't have the Ethernet control... if I didn't have the Ethernet plugged into it, rather, it wouldn't be controlling this software and vice versa. So when I move a fader on the desk, it moves a fader on the software. And the reason it's doing that is because both are connected via Ethernet cable. Okay? That's also handy for doing updates. Now, if I go back to the mixer itself, in here, you've got the capacity to do live recording onto a memory stick or a memory card. Let me just press that and bring it out, just to prove that I'm not fibbing to you. Okay, that's a micro SD. There's a mini. You see that in there? There's a tiny little disc in there. This is an adapter. Okay, so I've got a 32 gig memory card in there. Push that in, and that goes into the mixing console. Can you believe that? So I can record 32 channels of digital audio directly to the memory card in the mixer. How cool is that? Just amazing. I've never done it, so maybe that's an option for a future stream. Tallboy says, how does this mixer compare to a Mackie mixer? Mackie, also another great brand, by the way. And you're coming up with some great ideas. Mario mentioned the Allen and Heath mixer earlier, and Tallboy just mentioned there the Mackie brand. Mackie's a great brand. And, you know, a lot of cool studios use Mackie, a lot of cool bands and stuff, artists and things like that out on the road use Mackie. Very portable, very adaptable. They've come out with some great digital mixers as well as the analog ones that they used to do as well. So, yeah, again, Mackie, great brand. Okay, let's get back to the fat channel that we're talking about. So we've talked about the gate, we've talked about the compressor. Let's move on to the EQ now. Now, this is slightly different. With the EQ that I've got a vintage equalizer set up here. Excuse me. And you'll see 1, 2, 3, 4 different parameters on there with buttons down the side and all sorts of things. But the first thing I want to do is to show you the on-off button and the difference that it makes. So we're currently on EQ. That's lit. Okay. And then we've got the on-off button there. So I've taken it off. And for me, that sounds very, I don't know, I can't describe it, kind of woolly, if you will. So it sounds not clear. And so what I've done is I've got a vintage EQ that's back on now, as you can probably tell if you're listening on headphones or you're listening on some decent speakers. The EQ that I've got a little bit of top end to give it some sparkle. Now what I'll do is I'll change some of the parameters, okay, because I want you to hear the difference of how it sounds, okay. So I'm going to try and get a little bit closer to it because it's a little bit far away because I've got a keyboard in the middle of it, in between, and it's in the way. I could bring it all forward, but I don't really want to. I could do it. In fact, yeah, let me do that. So let me do this. Yeah, let's put that there. Balance it on there for a second. And I'm going to bring the mixer forward so I can reach it. Okay. So we've got this particular parameter. First of all, this is bass. So lows, low, mid highs, and highs. Okay. So we go with the lows first of all. And we can use this button here in order to bring in more bass if we wanted it more bassy, or take the bass off. You can hear the difference there, hopefully. It's subtle, it's not a drastic change, okay? But it's enough to make a difference. So this would be more kind of, more AM radio, I think was mentioned on a chat that I was having the other night. Somebody said, oh yeah, it sounds a bit like AM radio. You're absolutely right, it does. But then it's too bassy for my online stuff, so I want to bring it to about, I suppose if you're looking at a clock, it would be 10 past 2 on a clock face, and that's roughly where I like it. Okay, then you've got the mid lows. Now if I was to change, oh my goodness, so that sounds very, very kind of, and that's quite harsh, so I'm going to back that right off. And if I backed it right off to the lower end, it's almost like it's lost a part of where my voice should be. So I bring that up to about midway, just past the 12 o'clock mark, and that's enough for me. So that gives me enough of that mid-range crispiness, but not too much. So it's just past midday. The next one up is the mid highs, and so if, oh my gosh, so if I change that, you can hear that crispness is so it's very, very tinny. So I don't want that either. I don't want it at mid-range either, midway, and I don't want it below that because it sounds really woolly. So again, roughly speaking, on the clock, I suppose 1:05 I would have that at, because I don't want it up there, that's too crispy, and I don't want it below midway. So that's about right there. And then finally, we go to the end one, which is the treble, like the high end, and so this is your highs, okay? And again, you know, if you have it right up there, you're going to hear every single S and T and the sibilance on there is very, very harsh. So, so I don't tend to have it that far up. And again, if I have it really, really low, so I've put it right down to the bottom there, it sounds very woolly. So again, I'm looking at about midway, but then I go a little bit past it because I want some crispness to it. So about 2:10 again on the clock, if you're looking at a clock face. Excuse me. About 2:10 on the mixing thing. So that's what I've got it at currently, and I'm not going to change that. If I do the drop down menu, if I touch that, you'll see that you've got standard, passive, and vintage. So you can go to there and have a passive mixer, which sounds awful, to be fair. And I've not even changed anything. So you've got the standard EQ there, as you can see, and it's got you can see the movement there of the you know, when I speak. What that's doing is showing you a graph of where those notes are. So I've got a lot of mid-range, and I know that because my voice is quite mid-range. It's not too bassy. But when I do go a little bit more bassy, you can see the bottom notes there are peaking there. Not peaking, but, you know, you can see those bottom notes showing. Anything below kind of, I guess it's about 100 hertz lower than that. So that's where your bass is, okay? And I'm going to go back to the vintage EQ because I prefer that, and now it's reset everything, which is which is annoying. So I'm going to go back to that, give it a bit more mid-range, top end, low to mids a little bit, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10, yeah, just past there I think, and a little bit of bass as well. And that's really annoying because that's changed the settings that I had, which is frustrating no end. 222 222 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10. You see, I've messed it up, guys. I've messed it up. Oh, there we go. That's better. That's because I didn't have it on. Okay, let's back these off a bit now then. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10, and then give me a little bit more bass, and that's roughly where I had it before. I should have taken a snapshot of it, but I didn't, so that was entirely my fault. Okay, let's take a look and see if we have any more questions. No more questions so far. If you have anything else to say, please do let me know, because it's interesting to get your feedback. And that sounds really, I don't know, more harsh than it used to do, but hopefully it's not too bad. Okay, so you've got the EQ there. The next thing I said that mentioned earlier on is the Aux Sends. So that is whatever we send to that particular channel, channels 7 and 8 on the mixer. And if I back this off again, where it was, he says, trying not to jog everything off. All right, so yeah, you can just see the edges of these buttons here. Now these are your Aux channels. Okay, now this one here is lit, as you can probably tell, although it's really, really bright in here, so you probably can't see that so well. No, I can't show you that, but anyway, trust me, mix 7 and 8 is lit. If I did mix 5, let me take this off of here. This will change. Obviously, the faders will change because nothing's on mix 3, mix 1, mix 2, mix 3, mix 4. These are all mono until you make them stereo, okay? Now, obviously, I wanted it stereo, so I've got mix 7 and 8 as a stereo pair, okay? And that's obviously if I want to play you anything that's of a stereo file, I can do that like this. And I've just noticed that because I've moved the mixer, it's messed up some of the sockets on the back, like that. Hang on. Now we're in mono. You see? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Is that better? There we go. That's better. Okay, yeah. So I've got a loose connection on the back of the back of the mixer rather, that's going into the PC that you guys are hearing. So that's why that's kind of messing around with the stereo field, as it were. Now back to the desk mic, and we've pretty much almost finished. So that's fine. User, we don't need to worry about that too much. And then you know, back to the gates, as you know, the compressor, the EQ, Aux Sends, user, and then input as well. And what you've got across the top here as well, I didn't show you this, did I? So we go to the EQ again. What we can do is use these buttons on the top. And again, if I bring that forward and move that up slightly and level it up a bit, you'll see what I'm talking about. So these here, if I wanted to to change the, how will it do it? So look at EQ should be doing something, but it's not. Give me 2 seconds. Hang on. EQ 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2. That's not moving anything, is it? 1 2 1 2. No. EQ. It's on, and it's not moving any of that. That's interesting. Okay. But anyway, at the top here, you've got EQ. You've got high pass filter. You've got the gain, frequency, and the Q. Okay. Now the Q indicates the width of the EQ itself. Okay. For instance, if we go to, let's go to standard, for instance. Excuse me. So EQ standard. Here we go. So if I wanted to change the amount of bass coming to you, okay, you can hear the bass now. Now, if I wanted to roll off some of the bass, and I do recommend that you do that, you can see that in the top of this window here, the touch screen, okay, this here will indicate the amount of bass that I've got, and that Q will then narrow that band. Okay, now if I wanted to do a sweep across a frequency, you can hear the difference now. So I'm going across the range of frequencies until I find one that's really troubling me, and then what I would do then is drop it out completely, so I can eliminate certain frequencies. Could you see that? I'll try that again for you. So I'll get it back to normal. This is about the center, and if I go up like that, I can widen that band completely, so it takes on the whole spectrum of audio, if you will. But I want it to narrow to where that bass note is, and it's troublesome, so I just want to knock it out completely. So I'd bring that down to there and then take it out completely, and it gets rid of that particular note. And that's really finite control of your EQ. Okay, some of this is normally software based, but we're doing it in the hardware, which is great because I wanted to demonstrate that for you tonight. So so that's what that's doing there. This particular one is the high pass frequency. So if we bring that back to normal and we go to this one, this actually, you can see that that's got a curve on it, and that's going to take out a lot of that lower, anything below kind of 100 hertz bass. So I've now rolled off the bass on that particular standard EQ. Okay, let's say for instance we wanted to go to the high, and as you've noticed, I pressed the button, those yellow dots kind of highlight themselves. Can you see that? And it's pretty difficult to see it because I'm not zoomed into it, but hopefully you can see those change. And if I wanted to you know, give it some a little bit more treble, you can hear that treble changing now. And if I wanted to narrow that bandwidth, if you will, and then do the sweep again like we did before, so I can go like this all the way along here like this: 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2, and I can give it more gain and move it across there if I want to. 1 2 3 4 5, or I can widen that and give you some more top end, if you will, so the more kind of more treble and more sibilance and that kind of thing at that top end. So that's what I would use that for. It doesn't sound too bad, does it, to be perfectly honest with you? But I do prefer my vintage EQ, which is like that. Okay, and again, that's taken down some of those things, which I really need to move that over a bit and give that a bit more mid-range and a little bit more low to mids, and then finally a little bit more bass as well to give you that extra sparkle. So that's how I like it now. So that's really cool. We just finally check the, oh great, hang on. Okay, let's check the final comments. Okay, that's all up to date. It's pretty cool. I hope you've enjoyed this kind of overview of the fat channel here on the mixing desk itself. Some of the buttons I didn't show you, and I don't want to mess up the settings of my own console, if you will, so I'm just going to kind of go through them and let you know what they do from top to bottom sort of thing. So on this bottom section here, the channel, if you highlight, for instance, if I highlighted channel 1, then that automatically changes to USB, because channel 1 and 2 is a stereo pair of USB channels. Okay, if I went across to the tape, again, that's a USB channel, and if I go across to the desk mic, that's an analog channel. So that light is now blue. That's lit up because it's an analog input, if you will. So it's an XLR input into the back of the mixer. It's a hardwired microphone input. Okay, the booth mic that I've got is also an analog input. That's not switched on tonight, and that's in behind the shelves behind me, of course. So we're not going to use that tonight. The DAW is digital. So that comes in under the USB settings, okay? And my Denon DJ mixer is again an analog plug-in, because that plugs into the back of the mixing desk at the back there, where all the sockets and plugs are, which you can't see, thank goodness. It's like a bird's nest back there with cables. So you don't really want to see that. But the idea is, what I'm trying to demonstrate to you is that once you press any one of these, it will tell you what kind of channel it is. So we'll go back to the desk mic again, which is where we want it to be. Network. Oh dear. Did you see that? So when I pressed network, it changed. It took out that particular input, because it knows for a fact that this microphone is analog, it's not network. Okay. Now we've gone through the phasing button, which we did earlier, and the 48-volt phantom power supply, so I'm not going to press that. We've got the main channel, and again, that's muted myself in my headphones. But I know it's coming to you because it's coming down mix 7 and 8 on the mixing desk. Okay, so I can still talk, but I can't hear myself. So what I need to do is have main on, so that I can hear what the main output is. Does that make sense to you? So that's that button there. Stereo link. So if this was a stereo pair, for instance, let's go back to channel 1, for instance. You'll see that link button is now lit. That means it's a linked stereo pair. Okay. If it wasn't, I could take it off like that, and it would go back to one channel. And if I just show you the software as I change that, you'll notice the difference in what's happening here. So currently it's off, put it back on, and it jumps like that, you see? So channel 1 and channel 2 are next to each other, but because I've unlinked it, but if I link it together, they join together, and you'll notice that that's a stereo pair, okay? But back to the desk mic itself, that's, let's go back to that one. And you'll see that that's unlinked because it's not a stereo pair. And then you've got this section here, preset. So you can what you can do is, if you wanted to copy and paste the settings from one channel to another, you could highlight the channel, press copy, and then all of the others start flashing. In fact, let me show you. So if I go to, we're on selected channel here. So if I go to copy, all of the other channels are now flashing. Can you see that? It's pretty difficult to see in the dark. Or in the light, rather, because there's lots of light in here today. Can you see those flashing? Now what you would do is select the channel that you want to copy it to, press select, and then press load, and it would load it on there for you, which is pretty cool. Okay? I'm not going to go ahead and do that because I don't want to copy and paste the same settings to a different microphone just in case I mess things up. All right? But it's a fantastic, easy way to copy and paste the settings that you really like onto another channel that you could be using, for instance, which is brilliant, I think. It's a great feature. So that's an overview of the, and go back to that one. Yeah, that's an overview of the fat channel controls on the Studiolive 32SC digital mix system from Presonus. So certainly hope you've enjoyed tonight's little demonstration of that. Again, you know, I'm a beginner as well, so I'm kind of learning this stuff as I go along, and hopefully passing that kind of wisdom on to you as well. If you're thinking of buying a new mixer, or you already have this mixer and you're not sure what to do with it, then you know that's a great way to learn here at the channel Love Audio Productions. So thank you so much for hanging out with us today. If you haven't subscribed already, may I suggest that you do so, and also click the bell button there as well. That will let you they'll notify you, of course, when I go live next, which is every Monday night at 8 p.m. UK time, which we're now in British summertime. Woohoo! And it was a glorious day today. We had about 16 degrees outside. It was just amazing. Blue skies, warm sunshine, and just brilliant. So really glad that the spring has finally sprung. 8 p.m. British summertime. You can find us on the channel every Monday night, of course. And I do tend to post ironing streams in between. So I'll be doing a load of ironing and just answering questions and playing some Epidemic Sound playlists whilst I do that. So please join me for those as well. They happen now and again. Depends on how big the ironing pile gets. All right. But other than that, if you want to help the channel in any way, go to the website, which is loveaudio.co.uk. You can contact me there via the contacts page. Just drop me an email and I'll be happy to reply to anything you've got to ask, any questions. Also got some merchandise. You've seen the mugs tonight, by the way, on the stream. This is just two different colours. There's a purple one, a blue one there. We've got some green and black and all sorts of stuff. You'll find that on teespring.com/stores/Love Audio merch store. So get yourself over there if you want some mugs. And we will be giving away a mug in the near future. Probably one a week, but not yet. That might have to be once I've moved house. But look out for that. I will certainly put the word out there when I start to tease that one for you. Okay. Normally on this stream we do this. It's the jingle of the week. Okay. And I think I mentioned this, maybe mentioned this on another stream, but I was lucky enough to go and visit Jam Creative Productions in Dallas, in Texas, for my 50th birthday 5 years ago, and had a jingle produced there and sent them the script the day before, and they said, well, look, come down to the studio, see what we do, and we'll record your jingle there and then. And I was just blown away by that. Just absolutely amazing. And so this is the jingle that we had produced for my 50th birthday. Now, this is for use on my DJ sets, so this isn't used on the stream necessarily, but certainly when I'm out DJing, I will play this numerous times throughout the evening. Playing all your favorite hits. Have a great night, DJ Paul Weber. And that's produced by Jam Creative Productions in Dallas. They also produced this. That was the second one that I had made by them, which again is a really cool jingle. Tallboy says, good stuff. Thank you very much. And Tallboy says, glad I checked you out. Thank you very much indeed for joining, Tallboy. And get on over to his channel as well. Plenty going on there. Plenty going on lots of the streams that have come in tonight. So the Cutting Edge TV, Mario is on there. Fantastic. And also you've got Shalalala Productions, Awakenings Within, and also All Things YouTube, all of them in the house tonight, and also Huge Demand. Whip Profit is a guru as regards to the sports commentating world, mainly behind the cameras, but certainly recently in front of the camera as well, doing a bit of live streaming himself, which is fantastic. So thanks so much for everybody for joining the stream tonight. Do hope you've enjoyed yourselves. I certainly have. And thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.